I can rid the world of this scum with my bare hands. Don't you see, Father Stewart? I might be on a mission from God himself.
That's insane, Doug. God does not want people dead.
Oh, I think God wants a lot of people dead.
Hi, and welcome to ControlAltDeath. I'm Ben Monster.
I'm Gabriel Chisano.
And welcome to our very first episode.
Yay!
Dun dun dun! So we decided to make this podcast because we're both fans of horror movies and
Yes,
all things spooky. And but we also we realized as we were talking to each other that we both kind of like the bizarro horror movies, or like the
right.
not so popular horror. Well, I mean, we do like the popular ones, but we like the
We like the stuff that a lot of people maybe don't like.
exactly
The B tier, if you want to call it that.
the underdogs of the horror genre.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we should first introduce ourselves, right?
Sure.
My name is Ben Monster, and I like horror movies. I do a weekly show with my buddy Robot Don on the internet. We talk to
Where can people find that?
yeah, benmonster.com, and also twitch.tv/Tuesdays with Ben Monster. It's a live show. We talk to people on Chat Roulette and Omegle. We make friends, and we interview cool people. And that's kind of how we met, right, Gabe?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was... you had a guest on who I've been friends with for a while, one Mr. Christopher Bloodworth. He tweeted out that he was on the show, and the photo that I saw was you
Yes.
In your monster form laying, I think, on top of his book, or his book was on top of you. I don't remember which one it was.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, and I was like, well, this is super weird. And I tuned in, and it was the weirdest hour of my life.
Awesome.
But I really enjoyed it, and I've been there ever since.
Yeah. So tell our new listeners about yourself.
So I am a photographer and videographer, and from the Bay Area. I also love horror movies. I've loved them my whole life. My mom hates the fact that I love horror movies because she hates them. Yeah, I've loved the genre my whole life. I've made a couple of shorts here and there that are kind of horror, kind of thriller and stuff. And
where
I definitely have.
Where can people find that?
You can find that at youtube.com/wefoolsfilm. That's where I have all my shorts. Yeah, we were talking about podcasts in general, and I had mentioned that I'd kind of always wanted to do one, and you said, if you could do one, what would it be? And I said I think I want to do something with horror.
Yeah.
And it just we just started spitballing ideas and came up with this.
Yeah. So the deal is every week we're gonna be watching a movie in the horror genre of kind of the underdogs of horror movies, and we're gonna let you know before we watch it, so you can kind of watch it before you listen to the podcast and enjoy it just like we did. And
Right.
in our first episode, we watched VelociPastor.
VelociPastor.
Yes, this is a movie on currently right now as we record this. It is on Amazon Prime Video. I'm just straight off the bat, Gabe. I can't wait for a sequel. Just gonna say that.
Me too. Yes, I cannot wait. This movie is absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. And I did not know going into it that it wasn't a, quote, serious horror movie. This
Right.
is very much a, I don't know if I would even call it a spoof of horror. This is more like this dude like loves the guy who shot it. I wrote his name, Brendan Steer. This is like a love letter to these type of monster horror films, right? Like, I wouldn't so much call it a spoof as it is a love letter.
Yeah. As soon as I started watching this, because I also went in thinking it was probably going to be like taken seriously.
Right.
I mean, I should have known by the title, but as soon as the first joke hits, I was like, wait, huh? And then I was like, should I text Gabe? Like, because I'm not sure. Is this supposed to be funny, or is it like, am I just reading it like weird? But yeah, no, this is a funny movie, and purposely funny, and very self-aware movie.
Right. And before we go too far, I do want to say we are going to be spoiling the whole movie. So if you haven't seen it, pause this, go watch it, and then come back and listen to this. We're kind of going to go through our thoughts on it, and we made some notes and stuff, and I have some fun trivia about the movie. I was doing some research last night, so we're going to go through that.
Awesome.
So the deal with the show is every week we're going to watch one of these movies, and we want audience participation.
Yes.
So our email is ControlAltDeathPodcast@gmail.com. So if you watch the movie, or if you have movies that you think we should watch, or anything, send us an email and we'll read it on the show. And we also have a phone number.
Yes,
that's
we do.
818-457-6887.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to say it.
No.
No.
So if you want to call us, we're not going to be taking live calls for the for the show right now. But if you want to leave us a voicemail of your review, we'll play it on the show. Yeah, and then at the end of every episode, we're gonna announce what the next week's movie is, and we'll put that on all of our social media too, which is just at ControlAltDeath. That's going to be everywhere, and that way you have a week's notice to watch along. Before we get started, I do want to thank Matt Holt, who created our absolutely amazing theme song.
Superb.
It's amazing. He has a SoundCloud where he has a ton of music, and he does a lot of music for your show too, right?
Yes, he does. He does our one of our songs that is gaining a lot of respect through our fans. It's a Patricia song, and it's amazing.
Patricia. It's absolutely amazing. He has a SoundCloud. Like I said, check the description for that. And yeah, you can go check out his music and rock out to it. Also want to thank my brother, Josh Chazana, for creating our amazing website.
Super cool.
It's super cool, very professional looking. I tried to I started to make one on Squarespace, and it was just garbage.
Oh, don't say that. It wasn't garbage. It was good.
It was garbage. It was terrible. But he stepped in and built it in like 3 or 4 days. Like, it was super fast. So check out his site, joshchazana.com, CESANA. If you need a website built or anything like that, he is really, really good. Okay, so I have a couple of horror news articles that I thought we could go through for the past week or two. The first news article that I have, this is a couple days old, but Max von Sydow, the actor from The Exorcist and Seventh Seal and all this stuff, he passed away. He is an amazing actor, and it sucks that he passed away.
Yeah. I definitely know him from The Exorcist, but he's been in tons of stuff, and I'm drawing a blank on all of the stuff that he's been in. But I recently rewatched The Exorcist with my wife. She had a college course she was taking about horror movies, and he's so good in that. So good, yeah.
And I guess I read a thing that because he was young. I mean, he was an old man, but like at that time he was younger, and they aged him up in that, and they did such a good job that I guess he had a hard time finding work like immediately after that because people thought he was too old, which is amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like even just recently he was in the Force Awakens, the first Star Wars, or the Episode 7.
Yes. He's the dude in the beginning, right?
Yeah, he was the dude in the very beginning. Shutter Island, which is an amazing movie. He's in. Oh, he did the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters the game. That's awesome.
What?
I didn't know that.
Huh.
He wasn't. Was he the voice of? He wasn't the voice in the actual movie, was he?
I don't know.
Ghostbusters. Oh yeah, he was.
What?
He did the voice.
But he wasn't that dude, though.
He wasn't that dude, but he did the voice. That's crazy.
Wow.
I did not know that. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. Before we
Yeah.
we sort of touched on Ghostbusters 2. I have this complaint about Ghostbusters 2. I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about it just because we were talking about someone who died. However, my issue with Ghostbusters 2, and see if you agree with me here. When you create a movie, you establish a universe, and that universe has rules, right?
Yes.
In Ghostbusters 2, we're in New York. Ghosts exist.
Right.
I'm cool with that. I understand it. That's a rule, and I'm following that rule, and so does the movie. However, towards the end, what is with the goo being put on the Statue of Liberty, and then they plug in a Nintendo controller into the Statue of Liberty, and now the Statue of Liberty is animated. The Statue of Liberty is a sculpture. It's solid. There's no joints there. How is it moving?
I mean, do you know that it's solid?
Well, no, it's not. I guess it's not solid because I did go inside of it. But
I mean, could that have been? Could there be a skeleton in there? Could there be muscles and joint? I mean,
okay.
Can you really know for sure that there's nothing in there?
True. Okay.
Or it was just a really, really dumb movie thing that they did to sell a big toy.
Yes.
Probably
definitely.
that one. But I mean, either one. Yeah, that was weird. That is a. I like Ghostbusters too, but that is weird. That was a weird choice.
I liked it up until then.
All right, next item.
Yes.
This is fucking awesome, though it'll probably get canceled. Original Pet Cemetery screening will be held at the actual Pet Cemetery filming location in Maine.
Whoa.
So in September, there's going to be a special screening. They're going to show the movie in the actual Pet Cemetery.
That's cool.
And there's a bunch of these that are happening throughout the year. There's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre being showed in Kingsland where they filmed it. April 25th, Edward Scissorhands in Lutz, Florida. This is the one that's like, holy shit. June 5th through the 7th, Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. Yeah.
Wow.
And tickets are $20. They're all still available. So if you're near any of these places,
that
that's
sounds
very
amazing. Yeah,
really cool.
But you're right. They're all going to be canceled because they're
all going to get canceled.
Big events with lots of people, probably.
Yeah. So just go to these places on a weekday where no one's there and just watch it on your phone.
There you go.
Just break in and do it.
Out of all of those, which one would you want to see the most?
Friday the 13th. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too. That
would be,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be really cool.
Oh my god, that would be absolutely amazing. I
don't know how I feel about so it's in a cemetery, the Pet Cemetery one. Is it in that
I think it's on the set. So wherever they filmed that stuff. So I don't think it's in an actual cemetery, because I don't think there actually is a pet cemetery.
Right. No, but I'm thinking of that cemetery where they
shot everything.
Yeah, with that weird staircase. There's that one point where you see like a weird staircase, and where they bury. Spoiler alert: Gage in that human cemetery, not the pet cemetery. Oh, you're asking is it in the original? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm guessing it would be in the actual animal burial grounds.
I gotcha.
It'd be cool to do it in the actual Indian burial grounds.
Yeah.
Very something. So this one is just from today, and this is super weird. So you remember Space Jam?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Space Jam 2 is a movie that's happening, and I believe LeBron James is going to be the main dude.
Okay.
There's a leak that happened today. So I guess if you really don't want to know anything about Space Jam 2, mute this for a minute. But there's a leak, and if this is real, Pennywise, the Joker, the Mask, like Jim Carrey's The Mask, and the Wicked Witch will all be in the movie somehow.
What?
And I have no idea. No one knows how or why, and no one knows anything other than these are Space Jam 2 leaks, and all of these characters are in it.
So it's because they're Warner Brothers property, I guess? Is that what the deal is?
I was reading the article on Screen Geek, and they said that it's seeming more like an ensemble film of Warner Brothers characters.
Wow.
Kind of like Lego Movie or Ready Player One. Like they're just throwing in a bunch of stuff. I don't know if they're gonna be like I can't imagine it running around, Pennywise running around with Bugs Bunny and stuff. But
that's weird. I maybe they're like in the audience. Maybe they're spectators of the basketball game. Kind of like
the picture. Yeah, I don't know because the picture looks.
Wait.
Oh shit! I just closed the news article. But like the picture looks like they're in like a changing room, and they're like looking at a mirror or something. It's really weird. Yeah, I'll send it to you after this, but it's bizarre. And the last news article, and I think the most important one, the VelociPastor is getting a sequel.
Yes.
So you're about to hear our review on this movie.
Yes.
And
well, I'm gonna spoil it right now, Gabe. I think I open up with saying I can't wait for a sequel, and this is great news. So
we recorded our actual review about a week ago, right? And to kind of get ready and do all the audio stuff, and we talk about how much we want a sequel, and the fact that this happened now, I am so happy.
Yes.
And I don't know if you follow Brendan Steger, he's the writer, director, and editor. He's been posting stuff on social media with like pages of the script and little bits and pieces of stuff. So it's been really fun to go see. So I don't think I think it's just the script. I don't think there's a plan to get this made. I don't think there's funding or anything. It's just it exists now. So hopefully.
That's all we could hope for is that it might be something one day.
Yes, that's all I want. That would save. I think that'll save us.
Yes.
Getting a sequel to that movie, I think could save us all.
It will. Gabe, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this movie.
I'm very excited.
And I'm excited to hear what other people think about this movie too, because I initially started watching it by myself, and then had to stop watching it. And then I went home, and my wife Naomi, she said, "Can I watch some of it too?" And she didn't finish it. It's an incredible movie. Let's start off at the beginning.
Yes,
because that's where most things start at.
So I'm gonna let you explain this first joke. Well, no, you know what, Leonard? I was gonna go to the bio, like the story tagline. No, let's just get into it.
Okay.
Let's explain this first joke, and then I want to tell you my mini thoughts on it.
Okay. If we're talking about the same first joke, which is we see our main protagonist, Doug, the priest, come out of a sermon he just finished. He walks down the steps of the church. He sees his mom and dad next to a car, and the camera work on this part was a little strange, but I understand why. What happens. You see, it's a close up of the parents, close up of Doug, and then it close up of the parents, and then it zooms out a little bit, or actually a lot of bit, so you could see their entire car. And I was like, what? Huh? And then it goes back to Doug. An explosion is heard, and then the camera goes back to where the parents and the car should be. But in place of that, there's the car and the parents are gone. And in a big white text above, it says a VFX car explosion or something like that.
VFX, I think it was car on fire.
Car on fire. Yes, that was it. So I was like, okay, this is a funny movie.
Right.
Right at that point.
And like, it wasn't just the fact that it said VFX car on fire. They cut back to it like 5 times.
Yes.
They go back to him and he's screaming and crying. They cut back to the car. They cut back, and it's not a car. Like it's just
it's an empty parking
where
lot.
the car
Yeah.
was. It's an empty parking lot street, and there's nothing there. Just white text, and it says VFX car on fire. And they cut back to it like 5 times, over and over. And it's so. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is what this movie's gonna be, and I'm all about it.
Yeah. So we find out that Doug's parents are killed, and Doug takes it very hard, and goes, I guess, back into the church after that.
He turns right around and goes back in the church,
and is being consoled by his mentor. Oh man, I didn't write down his name, but Father Stewart. Yes, Father Stewart.
Yes.
Okay, and Father Stewart says one of the best quotes in the movie.
Yes.
Because Doug says, like, "Oh, my parents are dead," and he goes something along the lines of, "That's what parents do; they die on us." So I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, and then Doug shouts my favorite line, which is, "Why would God? Why would God?"
Yeah. And then Father Stewart tells him he should go somewhere where God won't hear him or something to those.
God won't hear him, or God won't follow him.
Right.
Which is weird for a priest to say.
Right. And then we have an amazing opening credit sequence where Doug is in the car driving to this location, and we don't know where he's going, but apparently Doug has driven to China.
And the best part about that, again, is he's driving for a good 10 minutes.
Yes.
Like and like they're clearly on a green screen. You can see the edge of the green screen. And you can see and it's purposely, like, they didn't try and hide it. That's what's so funny about this, is like there's mistakes in this movie that they purposely put in there, which is so funny.
Yeah.
And like my favorite part is the background is daytime, but they
Inside
have
the
the
car.
lights in the car. They have the street lights go over, so it looks super dramatic. But it's
they do. There's a lot of like almost Naked Gun type jokes in this.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Not as well executed as Naked Gun, but almost like a perfect homage to it without it being, but it's still being like that B type movie.
Yeah.
Which,
like, silly for silly's sake.
Yeah, it's just like it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So did you pick up on there is a song that's playing during the opening credits, and as soon as he gets to China, it starts to fade out, and you hear the Jurassic Park music.
No, I did not hear that.
I don't. I believe if you, I actually, I wrote it down. 5 minutes and 20 seconds in, you can hear the Jurassic Park theme play, or a very similar version of it.
Sure.
Play out. It was very funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then he says, once he gets to China, he says my second favorite line in the movie, which is he looks at either a map or a compass, and he says, "China is east."
Yes. It is very. The jokes on this they're strange, but they're
very strange.
But they're very good.
Yeah.
So he drives to China, and is met by a dying woman who is being hunted by these other like ninja guys, and she gives Doug what looks like a dinosaur claw, a raptor, or I guess a raptor's claw.
Yeah.
And she says something like, destroy this. But
Yes.
she's also speaking, I believe, is Chinese. And Doug does not understand what she is saying. And he just says, I should take this. And her last words are not in Chinese. She says, dragon warrior. Or she also says, destroy this or they will hunt you forever.
Right.
And almost dies, and then says dragon warrior, and then dies. And then Doug takes the claw. And well, then the most important part of the film happens. He gets... I don't know exactly how this happens, but
It doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
but it's hilarious.
the ninjas startle him, I guess.
Right.
Because they don't...
Yeah, so the same ninja that was hunting this woman came out of the forest again.
Right.
And with a bow and arrow that is literally just a piece of wood and rope,
Yes.
like literal rope. Mm-hmm. And also the sound effects in this movie are perfect.
Yes.
Like when he draws, it's like the weirdest sound. It's not like a normal bow sound. And he starts to shoot at him, and he runs and like stumbles and then gets a huge gash from the claw
into his hand, and he screams in pain, and then wakes up, and he's in America with
back in his church.
Yeah, with Father Stewart, and he wakes up all sweaty, and Father Stewart says, "That dream again, huh? The Dragon Warrior dream again." Oh, by the way, Father Stewart looks like John Bolton.
Yes. He absolutely
Got that
does.
mustache going. It's got the hair going. Yeah, it's If I was to cast a man as John Bolton in a movie, bingo. That I'm picking the guy who played Father Stewart.
Which I think is the director's dad
Amazing.
or relative.
Okay.
He's related to him somehow.
So yeah, Doug wakes up from this dream about the Dragon Warrior, but this did happen. It's not a dream. Then we get into Doug becomes hungry, right? Is that the next part?
Hunger.
Yeah.
I think it's this. And then it's either this or we meet Carol and Frankie Mermaid.
Right, Carol. Sex worker.
Sex worker. We see her walking down the street.
Yes.
She bumps into a man who we learn is her pimp, and his name is Frankie Mermaid. And why is he Frankie Mermaid? Because he's swimming in bitches.
Yes, that is his line. So Carol, we find out, is a sex worker / later we find out that she's a sex worker / lawyer / doctor.
Right. Which is a great line.
Yes. So we get introduced to those two characters, but then now I'm trying to remember what happens after that. Is it the hunger part?
No. So I think the hunger happens when he's still in the church. And then we meet Carol. And then Frankie Mermaid says, go to the park because that's where you make the most money or something, right? That's where you can meet the most people.
Yes.
So she goes to the park. She's walking around. She's smoking a cigarette. A guy comes out of nowhere and holds a gun to her and says, give me your money. And she's like, if you don't give me money, I don't have money, which is a great line. And then he says, take me to whoever has the money or something weird.
And she says, they'll kill you. And then he says, that makes both of us?
That makes two of us.
That makes
and I
two
wrote
of
that
us.
down because I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get what that means.
I think that means like he'd kill her too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if that was just written badly or that's a joke. that I'm not
It's
getting.
gotta be a joke. It's too perfect to not be a joke.
So yeah, this guy is about to kill her, and then out of nowhere, out of the shadows, we hear a dinosaur, and we get flashes of the dude that was threatening Carol. He's on the ground. He's shooting because you hear gunshots, and then you see flashes of the profile of this dinosaur biting this man. Gunshots, bites, and then somehow he's okay, and he gets up, and then
he keeps shooting.
He
keeps shooting.
And then the dinosaur gets him, and
Yes.
bites him, and his head falls off in the background, which is clearly a mannequin head, not
Right.
even dressed up to look like this man. It
Nope.
is a mannequin head that they threw in the background as you see Carol look on this display of whatever this dinosaur was doing to this man, and a mannequin head flies into the background.
Okay, so at this point,
Yeah.
So if you look at the poster for this movie, it's this guy with a bunch of ninjas behind him. It has the title, and then on the top of this poster, it has a really awesome looking raptor.
Yes.
So I thought, oh wow, they're gonna actually do some cool like CGI, some cool VFX. Like it's gonna be a cheesy movie, but this is gonna look awesome.
Right.
And what they do instead is make a paper mache dinosaur
A paper
suit.
Yes. I'll tell you, Gabe, at the end, the full reveal of the
Yes.
dinosaur is magical.
And the full reveal of the mannequin head bit, they come to that again
Yes,
later.
they do.
And we'll get to that in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think at this point. When I
Yeah.
saw the paper mache dinosaur, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, now I get this movie. Now I get it.
Now I know they're really in on it. They have to be.
Yes.
So, yeah, I wrote down the raptor puppet looks pretty sweet. It reminded me of Tammy and the T-Rex, but not as good quality. I said at least in low light.
And there's a scene later at the end where it is not in low light, and
Not
you
at
see
all.
this thing in broad daylight,
Yes.
and oh boy.
Yeah. My next note here, it just says what, and
Okay,
it
I wrote-
says close up, very funny. I don't remember. What
I
this-
wrote that down too.
Okay.
So, he wakes up. Doug wakes up in Carol's
Right.
room. Like she doesn't have an apartment; she has a room
has a room,
in some place.
yeah.
Like, which is weird. So okay, she has a room. He wakes up in her bed. She comes in. She sits down, and they're like, she says, "Oh, that last night was crazy," and blah blah blah. And he thinks that they had sex.
Right.
He's a priest. He can't do that. So there's this whole like back and forth, and it's like, okay, funny. And then she's like, "No, you turned into a dinosaur." Whatever. He stands up, and that's when this is the fucking best. He goes, they zoom in on him, and he goes, "What?" And then they zoom in a lot more, and then he goes, "What?" And he says it twice, and then they kind of talk about it more about what happened, and he doesn't believe it at first,
Right.
and
She says something like, "I could show you the dead body," or something like
Yes.
that. So we're led to believe that Carol and Doug left this dead man in the park, and which
Buried him.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. She does say
Yeah.
that she buries him. So that was strange. And I'm guessing, does Doug pass out after he's turned into the
No.
dinosaur?
oh yeah, I think at this point he passes out before he has full control of
Right.
this.
So
he passes out, and then she somehow brings him back to
Right.
her room, and she says, "I'll show you the body," and he says, do you have something I can wear? Because he's naked. Then we cut to the forest where this happened. She's walking, and we cut to Doug, and he's wearing one of her dresses.
Yes, it's like a mini skirt, a bright,
Very, very mini skirt.
a bright orange mini skirt. And I guess this part I'm blanking on. So they see that he sees the body, and he runs off, and says he needs to go to confession.
He says, "I'm late for confession." Right. He runs away. She stands there, like, what happened? And then we cut to the church, and Father Stewart comes out and is like huffing and puffing, looking around.
You're
and
late,
then we see you're late. We see Doug run in, and he runs into the confessional booth.
And
and guess who? Guess who walks into the confessional booth?
The old Frankie Mermaid, right?
Frankie Mermaid,
the pimp.
The pimp.
So Frankie Mermaid, as soon as he gets in, lights up a cigarette, and he says that he hasn't been to confession in over 2 years, and just lays out what he's done in the last 4 days. And it's a lot of what you would think a pimp would do, but what is later said is that Frankie Mermaid was responsible for Doug's parents' death. He is the one who blew up the car.
And then they do a flashback to the same shot. They do a flashback of the same shot, and you see him now. He's in the flashback, and you see him like crouching down in the corner and just like snarling and like rubbing his hands together.
It is, he also says that it aroused him to kill Doug's parents. And Doug, Frankie Mermaid says, as the car was burning, a priest got out and said, "Oh, my mom, my dad." And Doug is like, you could see Doug is like super pissed off, and he's, I think he's sweating, and there's dramatic lighting, and he not even half. Only his arm turns into the raptor claw and busts through the confessional and slices Frankie Mermaid on the neck and kills Frankie Mermaid. And then Doug bails.
He just runs away, leaves a dead body in the church.
Right.
Leave that for Father Stewart to clean up.
And what's next after Frankie Mermaid?
Frankie's dead. He goes back to Carol.
Yes.
And her whole thing was she wanted to like help clean up the city and get rid of bad guys and stuff.
Yeah, vigilante.
Vigilante, right. So he didn't want any part of that, so he comes back to that and says, okay, basically let's do it.
Right.
He says that he killed this guy Frankie Mermaid or whatever. She's like, "Oh, thank you so much," and she hugs him. They embrace, and then they they start to get close, like they're gonna kiss. Yes. But instead of kiss,
high five.
They high five.
High five. They high five right into a montage of working out, turning into a dinosaur, and there's like, you see the dinosaur murdering people too. It's a great. There's a good song that goes along with it too. It is a.
And you see them getting closer together. They're hanging out.
Yes.
He like starts to put her arm around her, and she looks and she likes it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
They're getting closer.
And then we get we go back to China, right? Or is it not China? Like, see, this is what I'm so confused, because like later on, the same people that we saw in this China thing, they're back in the U.S. I think the first scene took place in China, where he got the dinosaur claw. He came back. I think that organization came to America, wherever they are, in this perfect little field in someone's backyard. Right. They shot this. Okay.
And I think that's where like their new headquarters, and that one tent was their new criminal headquarters.
Right. And you see a an American there who's speaking English to this head of this organization, who I believe only speaks in Chinese for most of this, and they're going back and forth. I don't even remember what they're talking about, but at the end,
I think.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think that they talk about their plan. Do they talk about their plan here, or is that later? I think they talk about their plan later.
I really don't remember. All I know, it ends in a great joke of the leader of the group laughing, and his sidekick or his apprentice is trying to almost mimic his laugh, but doing a horrible job. And it goes on for a good minute and a half of just this laughing, and it's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's super fun. And they do it again later, and it's even better then.
Yes, it is.
So from there, we go back to the church post them, Doug and Carol murdering everybody.
Right.
And, Doug is reading a book about, what is it, like a book about killing or something?
No, it's called Crime 2.
Crime 2. That's right. That's right. And then Father Stewart comes in, and he shuffles and puts a tinier book behind that book, like he's fake reading it.
Right.
But you can clearly see both giant books. It's fantastic. It's perfect.
Yeah, so Father Stewart spies on Doug and sees that he's getting close with Carol.
Yeah, that's right.
And confronts him on this, and Doug says something about, well, he kind of confesses, right, that he's turning into a dinosaur.
Yeah, he does the thing where it's like, okay, let me tell you the story. They cut away, they cut back. Father Stewart's sitting on the bed like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on.
Right.
And then just when he locks him in the room.
Yes.
I think he locks him in the room here. And then I think it's right after this that he takes him to meet Father Jones.
Right. He wants to,
right?
Yeah, he wants to bypass all the hubbub with dealing with the diocese on exorcism, I guess, right?
Right. It was gonna take too long.
Right. So he knows a dude. And he takes Doug to see this guy, who I don't remember his name.
Father Jones.
Okay, thank you. Looks exactly like, if you ever watch the show Face Off, he looks like Glenn Hedrick, one of the judges on Face Off. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Does that guy also wear very heavy eye makeup?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, perfect.
Like, I'm dead serious. It looks like him.
That's awesome. So we go into this very creepy, like occult type room, lots of weird demonic stuff on the wall.
Right.
This guy, Father Jones, comes in and starts talking to Father Stewart and Doug. And then we get, I think, the weirdest part of this movie.
Yes.
Which is, as Father Jones is talking to Doug, we hear an internal monologue of a Father Stewart thinking about this guy, and the last time he saw him was in Vietnam.
Right.
But it wasn't... Okay, so this is where I'm extra confused now. Mm-hmm. So the last time he talked to this guy or had any interaction with this guy was Vietnam. And then we get a flashback of him with a blonde wig and a blonde mustache.
Yes.
This guy looks like John Bolton, so they had to dye his mustache blonde.
Right. So instead of getting an actor to play Father Stewart as a young Father Stewart in Nam, they put on this wig, and he's wearing a helmet too. He's the only one wearing a helmet.
Yes.
And it is so funny. He's talking to his war buddy Ali. And he's telling him that, what are you fighting? Ali asks, what are you fighting for? And he says, I got a girl back home. And he shows him a picture of Adeline, his girl.
Adeline.
And Ali says, well, when you go home, maybe you'll have 4 kids, maybe you'll have 11. You gotta name one of them after your war buddy Ali, who made it all through Nam without a scratch on him. And of course, after that line is said, a bullet strikes Ali, and he falls to the ground. Father Stewart screams, "Ali, Ali!" And then we have it flashes to a scene of Father Stewart sitting down, writing a letter to it's addressed to Ali's mom and dad.
Right.
I'm sorry to say, and it's like ... and
he's having a hard time. He's like kneeled over,
Right.
he's crying, he's trying to get this note out.
right, and you see him you hear someone call his name, and he looks up, and it's Adeline. And she's in Vietnam and running towards him, and one of the best effects in the movie. It is so funny. Adeline gets, I guess, maybe 3 feet in front of Stewart and blows up. Just turns into a giant ball of blood. And
all over him.
Yeah,
he's
and
covered.
He's covered. And there's these 2 guys that approach him that were on, I guess, in his platoon. And they say one of the best lines, I think she's too far gone. She's done for, or something like that.
Right.
She's not in the scene anymore. She's covered him, like she's all over Father Stewart. Like it's
and
all
like the
blood.
tent behind them is all
Right.
covered in blood. Like she's just a puddle on the ground.
So so where is Father Jones in this?
I don't know.
Okay.
So that's what. So when I watched that, I thought that Ali was the other guy, because he goes by Altair or something now.
Okay.
He was Father Jones, but now he goes by Altair. So I thought Ali. Oh, it's the same guy. They both have like facial hair.
Right.
And then I looked it up, and they're 2 different actors. So that's not the same dude. So I didn't get why these 2 things are related at all. It doesn't matter. It was amazing.
Yeah. Maybe one of the guys behind
was him. I don't know,
or did he go to I don't, it's not worth it,
because
right?
it's not. I think maybe after that he goes. That's when he joins the priesthood, and maybe that's when he meets Father Jones.
But we don't see that.
We don't see that though.
Yeah,
we don't see any of that.
So then it's back to the exorcism, or is it a seance? Because that's what Father Stewart says.
Yeah.
That he says, stop the seance. I didn't know that a seance is communicating with the dead, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not exorcism.
It's like, what the hell? Okay. Anyway, so they start, or Father Jones, right? He starts performing this exorcism / seance, and he's constantly going back and forth to Doug, saying, "What are you feeling right now?" He says, "Anxiety." Sorry, my cat is near the microphone. And he says, "Oh, that's perfectly normal. What else do you feel?" He's like, reaching for it, and he's just saying, normal stuff. And then he says, "Hunger," right?
Right.
And that's when Doug starts transforming, or at least just his hand.
Just his hand. I think a little bit of the face too. That's when we get the
right. Yes.
You get the contact, the like lizard eyes, and a little bit of scales and stuff on his face.
Right.
But mainly his hands turn into full velociraptor hands.
Yes. And they are not. It's not like it doesn't look like it's like a latex appliance. It looks like they're gloves that he put on, like dinosaur gloves. I don't know.
Right. Literally just gloves. They're all, when he's moving around, they're all wobbly and bendy.
Right. And he goes for Father Stewart's eye and rips it out. And
one eye.
Yeah.
Just rips one eye out.
And then leaves. right?
He leaves. He busts through a door. He busts through the wall, which we don't see. We hear.
Right.
And then Father Jones starts. He's like crying and is like, "What have we done?" type of thing. And then he starts laughing a lot and doesn't stop laughing until the scene ends.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of weird like laughing and then the scene ends kind of thing in this movie.
Right. A lot of that.
So
then he goes back to Carol.
right.
And then we get
Wait, hold on. Carol enters her apartment or her room
Yes.
and finds Doug wrapped up in newspaper in the corner of her room.
for some reason next to the bed. Next to the bed.
And he says, I did a horrible thing, right?
Yeah.
And he says, I think I ripped out Father Stewart's eye. I think that's what he says.
I think so.
And this leads into the sex scene music video, right? That happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a sex scene. They start kissing and undressing, and then, but it turns into a super artsy,
Yes.
like indie music video,
Yeah.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was really
And it
cool.
was like the colors were. There was all these like deep blues and reds, and they're like touching, and it was fading, and it was like there was nothing graphic, like there was no nudity or anything, but it was really well done. And like they do a flashback, like at the very end there's this really quick flashback of like the whole movie leading up to it, and you're like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, this is super well done. I couldn't believe it. It was so good.
Yeah, it was weird because it felt like they took a lot of like extra time just to do this, and
Right.
yeah, it was great, but it just didn't seem like it fit.
It didn't fit at all. Not like
Yeah.
this was actually like legitimately like great.
Yeah.
Like this was like a great, like you could post that on YouTube as a music video,
Right.
and that's like fantastic.
Yeah. And then we see them. It's the next morning. They're lying in bed, and we get a ninja fight scene because 3 ninjas come out into her room through the windows. I believe
They jump through the windows.
Yeah.
Yep.
They take down the ninjas pretty fast.
Super hard. Very fast.
And one of them.
Great form.
Yes. I think do they high five at that point after? Or they just.
I think they kiss.
Okay.
They kiss again.
Okay.
After, because now we're at the kissing stage.
Yes. And then one of the ninjas is still alive and says something about Doug believing in his faith again or something like that, or mentioning his faith. I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that. And then I think we go back to the villain's hideout, and this is where we get like the master plan of these of this ninja crew. So
super confusing, by the way. I don't really.
Yes.
I don't think I have a full grasp of their this evil plan.
This is their master plan, right? So they're creating their own cocaine, which is 40% more addictive than normal cocaine, right? 40% more addictive. Great. So their plan is to get everyone hooked on this new cocaine.
Right.
Then they're going to stop making it, take it away from everyone so people go into like withdrawals.
Okay.
And their plan is that all these people, the next step would be to go to self-help groups, which would be run by Christians.
Gotcha.
They're like their crew, like they're Christians. And through that, they're going to build a Christian army.
Okay, so I did understand it. See, I wrote down evil ninja's goal, introduce powerful coke, get people hooked, equals self-help, question mark? So yeah, okay, I get it now. Perfect.
Yeah. That's their master plan. And it works. I think it would work, you know? I mean, I think if they get people hooked, they go on self-help. I mean, they're probably going to have one of their ninjas in every single self-help group.
There you go.
In America, because we don't know what city we're in, right?
Right.
Do we know what city we're in? Are we in LA or do we not know?
I don't think we
New
know.
York,
I think
maybe?
this is like Anytown, USA kind of thing.
Generic. Yeah, exactly.
He's also explaining this plan to a captured Father Stewart.
Yes, with an eye patch
with
over his glasses.
Right. Eye patch over his glasses. Yeah. So, and Father Stewart says you can't force people into religion. That's just crazy. And then I believe he kills Father Stewart, right?
Yes. And then he says, Doug will stop you.
Yes.
That's his last line before he dies.
Right. My next note after this, it might be a little far off. I might have skipped something, but my next note is Doug's leather jacket makes a lot of noise.
Yes. So we go back to the room where they're in. Mm-hmm. I believe the ninjas are now gone. Their bodies, I think.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
So now they're getting all suited up for this big final battle.
Right.
Doug puts on a very 50s retro leather jacket, zips it up, and they go off to not China, wherever they are. And the best part is when they get there and we see them coming up on this camp, he's wearing a different leather jacket. Did you catch that?
I did not notice that.
It's a totally different, the one has the little flap that's sticking out and it zips up kind of halfway. This is a full on normal jacket. And it's so strange. They go there, they see these ninjas, they come out, and then the American ninja, who's the boss's right hand guy, he comes out. He's he takes off his mask and he's like, Doug, you don't remember me or whatever. And we do, previously in the movie, there was a flashback to Doug, remembering stuff with his parents.
Yes.
So it's them at the dinner table all laughing. I don't think they're speaking. I think they're only laughing. Right. There's a scene which is very much like Spider-Man, where it's his dad sitting with him in the car. It's pure white background, and it's he's talking about how he wants to become a priest and all this stuff. And then we see the mom is in the back, and it's really funny. So we come back. So back to this. His name is Sam. This other ninja, and he says that he's his brother.
Yeah, before...
And then we cut...
Yeah, before, because the ninjas cover up there from nose down, so you just see their eye. So he says, Doug, you don't recognize this voice? And he goes, it can't be. And then he pulls down, and he goes, it's my brother. Yeah, yes. Big twist. Sam and Doug are brothers. And then you see those flashback scenes that you were just saying, and Doug appears in them after, the one where they're at the table. The camera pans over to the right, and you see Sam crying, I think it is.
Yeah, he's angry that they're all having so much fun.
Right.
He's not involved in the fun.
Right.
And he's crying. And then they go back to the car scene, and the mom pops up from the back seat. Right. And then the dad says, you're my only son. I love you. You're my only son. And then all the way in the trunk, Sam pops up again. Right. And he's crying again.
Yes.
So he's hated his brother his whole life.
Yeah. He asked Doug why everyone was laughing so much. Sam there's a fight between Sam and Doug. And there's this weird sword off to the side.
Yeah.
And
Sam takes the sword and says, I'm not gonna stain the sword of my ancestors with your blood.
Okay.
Right? And he slams it into the ground.
Okay.
And then they square up to fight. I think they start fighting. In the background, Carol's taking down a ton of ninjas.
Yes.
Just relentless, knocking them. She's like Black Widow.
Yes.
Just taking them down. She's also wearing a very weird, skin tight, very revealing outfit.
I was waiting for a boob to pop out because it seemed like it was gonna happen.
It definitely seemed like it was gonna happen. So the two brothers are fighting, and then there's a moment where Doug looks at the sword.
Yes.
That's stuck in the ground, and then uses the force, or he pulls the sword to him it's the force.
Dino
and
force.
Says, Dino force, exactly. And he says, "Your ancestors are my ancestors." And then he uses the sword to kill Sam.
Right.
Right. He stabs him.
Looks like he stabs him in the leg, because
he
definitely, you don't see it enter Sam at all. You just see it from Doug's perspective, and he looks like he's jabbing it either into his like thigh or his nuts. Like it's like a weird downward motion, and Sam screams out in pain. And then Doug starts laughing, right?
I think so.
As blood sprays his face.
Right.
And
then
at this point, if you look over on the side, you can see Carol pretending to fight ninjas, which
she's
was
just
awesome.
kind of like Street Fighter, like idle motion, just kind of sitting there. It's so funny.
And then Doug goes over to Carol, right? Because
so Doug is now over his brother, laughing or crying or both.
Right.
And then Carol is in the background, 2 feet away from Doug, and she's getting overtaken by ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
And then she takes down one, and then the other one calls out like this bigger, badder ninja with a sword. He comes out, slashes her across the chest. She's bleeding.
Yeah.
She falls down. Doug runs over and holds her, and she takes a really long time to die. And I forget what her last thing is. She says something, and then she dies.
yeah, I just wrote as a note, "Oh no, Carol dies!" Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Because I was not expecting that. Because that giant ninja dude just slices her like
it's nothing.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Oh shit!"
And as she's dying and he's embracing her, the other ninjas start to cry and hug each other because they're sad.
Yeah,
which is perfect.
Yeah.
And then we get the best scene, which is Doug going crazy and turning into full head-to-toe velociraptor.
Right.
And this is when you see they pull way out, and you see full on this a man in a dino paper mache suit.
Yes.
And he's fighting all these ninjas.
Yeah.
And the best part is if you look at his crotch in the suit, there's a giant hole.
I did not see the hole in his crotch.
There's a huge hole that this suit clearly tore on day 2 of this filming.
No.
And they just had to leave it in. And it is amazing.
I really liked the you could totally see the actor's head in the hump on the back of the dinosaur.
Right.
Because this guy
is
is standing up, or sort of standing up,
Yeah.
like crouching maybe, or hunched over, and his head makes a giant bump in this dinosaur's back.
Yeah. I think his arms are the dinosaur's actual arms, and his legs are the legs.
Right.
So just imagine a guy kind of hunched over and this weird paper mache suit around him.
Right. It is.
So he fights all the ninjas.
Yes.
And then the main leader dude comes out and shoots him with an arrow, right?
Yeah.
Or like a blowgun or something.
Yeah, and then some.
I think it was an arrow.
Yeah, I think it's an arrow. There's then some weird transition happens. I don't know what was happening on my screen, to be honest. I didn't understand it. It looked like they were going for like when the film, because there was like, it's so weird to describe.
It's like the film burn, where it's like if you're watching a movie, and a lot of movies do it now as like a cool thing. It's popular, but it's like you see the film on the screen and it like gets all torn up and burns.
Right.
They use that as a transition from him, because the arrow was dipped in some poison or some type of material that takes that removes the dino virus from him.
Right.
So he turns back into normal Doug.
Right. And there's some weird like static part in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very weird. It's like a very quick transition, but there's all these weird effects.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see human Doug now, because he's no longer a dinosaur, crouched over in pain because of this arrow in his leg. And then the big bad dude, ninja guy, comes over and plays with the arrow in his leg.
Yes.
Like, flicks it back and forth,
Yep.
and he screams out in pain. Now, did you know this is now the leader ninja guy is speaking English, and he totally sounds like Yoda. I wrote down that he sounds like a weird Yoda, and he tells him about that the arrow was supposed to take away his dinosaur stuff.
Yeah, he explains the whole thing, how they got this liquid or something, and it's the arrow is dipped in it, and then he goes into this whole thing, and then he says he's gonna kill him, he's gonna finish him off, and he says, any last word, or do you have a last word, any last words? And Doug goes, only 6.
Right.
And he goes, I think my hand is immune.
Right.
And then he reaches from around his back where his hand was, and it's still a dinosaur hand.
Right. And
he removes the leader's head.
yes.
And this is when like blood is gushing everywhere, covers his face, covers everything. He's holding it up, and we're shooting it from behind.
Right.
So we see like it's another mannequin head, but this one like they put eyebrows. You can see
Yes.
like the little eyebrows, and it's like okay, it's from behind, so it's just a bald mannequin head, and there's like meat hanging down. But then he's screaming, and then he turns it around. He turns it around, and then you just see a mannequin head.
Yes.
Like just,
straight up mannequin head.
yeah.
It's awesome.
It's perfect. It's so good.
Yeah. As he's screaming with the blood all over him, he says, I think he throws down the head, or
Yeah.
maybe he's still holding it, and he goes, "Oh, Carol."
Right.
And then we flash forward to Doug sitting in a doctor's office, and a doctor comes to him and says, "Good news." Well, before that, he sits down and takes used cigarettes out of the ashtray and begins to smoke them. And
Right.
he says, "Good news, we can save her. In fact, she's fine right now. You can go see her." And he runs into her room in the hospital, and he goes, "Carol, you're not dead." And she goes, "I'm fine." And says it again, "I'm fine." And he says it, I think. And then on the screen, in white letters, it says, "She's fine."
Fine.
What? Yeah, I wrote down, "Carol is not dead. She's fine."
She's fine.
Yeah.
And then we go from there to some random hilltop.
Right.
They have like an awesome car and
Leather jacket, too.
Leather jacket's back. I think the first version, because the second one's now covered in blood. And I think they're just gonna go on the road and kill bad people. Like that's kind of the plan.
I think sets it up for a great sequel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see that if they make it.
And that's the end. And that's the end of the movie.
The end. I loved it.
I loved it too.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I would definitely put it in rotation if I ever have people over to my house and they say, "Hey, do you know a good movie that has dinosaurs and ninjas and it's got like some weird religious thing in it?" I'm like, "Yes,
Pastors.
Yeah, I got that movie for you.
You got that movie.
Yeah, we're watching it."
Yeah. I would say if you're a fan of God, it's not even anything close to, but if you're a fan of Shaun of the Dead, it's kind of in that world.
Yeah.
It's not that level of quality, but it's kind of similar to that. That movie was a love letter to zombie movies. This is similar to monster horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a guy. It's a werewolf kind of story, except it's a dinosaur.
Right.
I guess, sort of, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'm watching it again.
Absolutely. So, here's my question. And I'm not very religious, so maybe I just don't know. Aren't pastors?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So he's a priest. Priests
Right.
are not pastors.
No,
Pastors
I
are
think they're two different things.
two different religion, two different sides of Christianity.
Oh,
right?
that I didn't even know. But I know that a pastor they can get married, right? Or maybe now I'm
No,
confusing things.
So Protestant pastors, yes.
Okay.
Like oh God, this is not the right person to talk about. I know nothing, but
Me neither.
Protestant pastors can absolutely get married, and they don't wear the neck thing. That's not they're not Catholic.
Okay.
But Catholic priests are what these guys wear.
Right.
But it's called VelociPastor.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a little confusing, but it fits with the movie.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Also, did you know that their
change it.
priest collar was very strange?
Yeah, it was loose. It was very like sheer and
Yeah,
thin.
It looked kind of like gauze. Like
Yes.
it wasn't bright white, and it wasn't part of their collar. It looked
No.
like it was like taped on.
It looked like black tape and white tape that
Yeah.
they put together and made this collar.
Yeah, it was weird.
So I have some behind the scenes facts about this movie.
Hit me.
So the budget for this movie, do you want to guess how much?
I'm never good with that. I'm gonna say it's tough. I don't know. $5,000.
Oh boy, $35,000.
Okay, $35,000.
So I guess back in early 2000 something, I think 2012 or 14, Brendan Steele, who was the writer, director, and editor, which is awesome. They tried to kickstart it, I guess, multiple times. They all failed. And then he met a private investor through his mom, and she wanted to see something about the movie. He sent over stuff, and like 4 days later, she sent over
Wow.
$35,000, and that's how they funded it, which is amazing.
That's cool.
So where the actual idea came from was, so this is from an article that he did, or an interview he did, I think a couple months ago. So he said, way back in 2010, I was trying to type velociraptor into my phone, and it autocorrected to VelociPastor. I was in film school at the time at the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan.
What?
And I was like,
I went there.
that sounds like a movie to me. Oh, yeah, that's where you are, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for a class project, I made a short film of fake Grindhouse trailers, and this was one of them. I was a sophomore in film school, and all my videos were on YouTube, and they all had something like 45 views, but this one blew up. I think it got 45,000 views. So I thought it could be a movie even back then. So a autocorrect error in his phone led to this whole thing.
That's crazy.
Which is just, I love that. I love that stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's VelociPastor.
VelociPastor. All done.
So our plan for these movies as we go is to, we're not going to review them in a way of like giving them stars or anything,
Right.
but we're going to have an ongoing list on our site where we just rank them in numerical order, right? So this week, obviously, number one, Velociraptor. Next week, when we do the next episode, we watch the next movie, we're going to say, okay, is it better or worse than Velociraptor?
VelociPastor.
VelociPastor. Cool. Is it better or worse than that?
Right.
And that's kind of how we're going to rank the movies. And that's going to be on our site at the top, so you can go there and view it. And then we're going to have the episode number next to it, so you can see, okay, I want to see this movie, this episode, go to it that way. Yeah, and if you watched it and you want to send us your takes on it, please send us an email or call us. All that info is in the description of this episode, or on our site, and you can send it. We'd love to hear what people thought about this.
Yeah.
So next week's movie. Actually, before we even get into next week's movie, I do want to explain. Today's Friday the 13th when this is going live. From now on, our episodes are going to be live on Wednesdays. So the next episode that goes live will be on the 18th, next Wednesday. And then from there on, they'll be on Wednesdays. The next movie that we're going to be watching is called Uninvited, and it was made in 1987. It's available for free on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna read you the tagline for this movie. Ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Cats have 9 lives. You only have 1.
Oh, dip.
That's it.
That's
it. So
we were discussing what will be our next movie. We kept going on Amazon and looking for things, and back and forth, back and forth. Then once we saw this trailer, we're like, this has to be our next movie.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to watch this movie. It's got I believe his name is George Kennedy. He's he's Frank Drebin's partner in Naked Gun. I'm sure he's done other stuff, but that's what I know him from. It's got this giant puppet cat that another cat comes out of its mouth. I'm very excited.
I mean,
very
just
excited.
imagine like the alien from Alien, and when it opens its mouth, a little thing comes out, right? The little smaller alien. Imagine that with
Right.
a cat, but except the thing that comes out of his mouth is like the size of the cat. So
Yeah.
it's just like a cat vomiting another cat, and it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm very.
So that's the next
excited for
movie,
this
Uninvited. Uninvited. It's on Amazon Prime. Check it out. And as always, if you watch the movie before the show and you want to send us your thoughts on it, you can send it to ControlAltDeathPodcast@gmail.com and tell us what you thought. If you have any suggestions for us for other movies we should watch,
Right.
or if you just want to tell us how much you love us or hate us, send us an email.
Only love. Only
and then-
love.
Only love. One love.
Yes. One love.
And then we have a phone number, 818-457-6887. And you can call us, leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. And again, leave us your thoughts, leave us suggestions, whatever you want to say.
So is that it? Are we calling it? Are we just saying
Yeah,
bye to everyone?
I think that's it.
All
That's a
right.
good first episode. I'm really happy that we chose this movie as the first one. I think it's
Yes.
a great, super fun, great way to start this off.
Perfect movie. Thanks for listening to Control-Alt-Death. I'm Ben Monster.
I'm Gabriel Chisana.
And don't be a dingus.